The call came at Seta was already awake, armbees every blanket. What dot? Angstop times demasi ios part oso. Ios e causing. That sleep, do something you stop fighting. iPhone was face down on the fighting. You just get up. You make coffee and Iowaf watch the yard. My phone was face down on the table. When it buzzed and flipped itself over, Mom, him, Hein, and she has never once called me Scufwin D7 in the morning to tell me good news. Where are you? I asked. She said she ain't sen. Sen. She said she was at the Marriott on 5th, the one near the convention center. Any resemblance to what she said she had checked in the night before with $42 in her checking. What daddy? Nee blue. One might coming you doom, Miss Cooper. He's the pims negotiations. I didn't ask questions. I'm making tell to I ding what be define. I'm coming. I didn't questions. Stove fine because I didn't know yet if it would be. I just poured my coffee and takes new go on at every 1 minute. I did not hit to light on Carver Avenue. New. What I thereafter when windum. Not the specific pape of Marbend. No, not everything. I running through how it went. Not the specific shape of how it would end, but I had known enough. I had been building 3 years old, and you have learned the hard way that making noise too early, a we need disiki, Ryan to it, hadenerming ever honest name to prepare. My son-in-law's name is Preston. He is 40 years old, the youngest sized car commercial lit firm, and the kind of mind to know to ta in pai timin. His mother's name is Vivienne Ashby. She is 67, which makes her 4 years older than me, though you would never guess it from the way she carries herself. She moves through rooms like she owns them. In many cases, she does. Renee had been working at Ashmead Property, not Mare Taunt. She managed because she was being welcomed in Indian. She managed client communications. What Renee had thought it meant, he did. She was good at it. She had a background in public listening from before Cooper was born, and she brought that precision to saving she did. One more thing, Starissum. Vivian had told her at the company holiday last December that she was a natural. And Renee Stewon smiled the way do. So I was then have been quietly hoping sorry gang. Was Steve standing near the cheese DCTCM, hypin'. I remember this woman knows exactly what she is doing. I kept that thought to myself, one of them. What I did instead was go home and start making phone calls. I started being at the company with my late husband. When our kids, on a property, we at a garage sale by the fax machine, 11-1 cabinet we found at a garage. I have since expanded to 80 go. With them are 43 units across Horthing, 4 high counts. I have since expanded to 81. I am not loud about it. I drive a 6 station on Tuesdays because they's dextunk the large size. I buy my coffee, not any of this about. I am quite scart west im about me. Woman, he likes someone's pleasant to family than she did. A woman who brought morning to family dinners and had a good casserole to Garisu's and had opinions about garden centers. A woman who brought a good Essini, an Einsi to me. She was not unkind. That is the thing about women like Vivienne. What anyone they why tell me. I or car doing. I just in my kai do me. I just in say it agree with her. Renee was at the door of room 200 day before. See you my clothes she'd had on day before. Did I could tell because of I'm sweaty. I could tell. Or because of the some small coffee stain on the left sleeve of her green patis wet. I had been with her when she got that stains. I done was someone at lunch on one you was tomato went me. Had done something, sing. She looked at me was as ashamed of even when it wasn't her fault. Chin down, eyes up. I waiting to see what I would do. I put my arms around her. Even when I've chum, why comering. Cooper was asleep on the bed, still in precious tell me Abdebin, and tell me, I said, We sat on the edge and she told me Vivian had called her into the office, the minute I stand, on Thursday afternoon. Not the big office, the conference room, because the conference style talking. What do you piri anything? It looks, from the outside, like a normal business meeting. It had been pleasant. And I'd people a come on a say, a normal business meeting. She had used phrases like restructuring and dinevity eat mot hi I mean tai spoken with Preston, and they both agreed it would be best if Renee time, and that in the meantime, Cooper would stay with Preston at the Renee took some time, and that in the meantime, Cooper twa would tie Preston at the family's necks. My thanks. Renee had looked at her and stressed sweetheart. There was a document on the table. Signy at this, as something you signed before a dental cleaning. It was a temporary custody agreement. Preston's signature was already on it. Renee had not signed it, and if you went, she had picked up her bag and walked out of the building, taken the bus to the Marriott. That is something high stew you need to do. When you ask you two's more important than the other person's story, and sometimes that you're important than the other person's story, and sometimes the most important distortions answering heats you are me, so just letting the story finish. When she was done, I said, "Did you know with Cooper today? Order card trongless whatever breastropus I ching hides. Let him watch whatever he wants on the television. Don't call Preston. Don't call Vivian. Don't call anyone except me." Renee looked at me. "Mom, what are you going to do?" "I'm going to make a few calls," I said. "Nee is Zawad." What I did not tell her yet was that I had beans for the better part of 8 months. Kindu, wasan you buy? Birds, and there is a separate fork for the bread. Preston's older brother is there with nodded it. Preston's older brother was there with his wife, a family friend named Douglas, who was something in finance. And if you know me, see, and Vivian at the head of the table talking 14 new of me geshum, the Hartry group Zahad in Inyos and emu in ingeniero. Taz mixed use the word all spaces on floor. I noticed, because I always notice when Ashby properties. Seekers use when people you word cornerstone. I noticed if you words notice when Hartrish Elise. And if you nots we yaz, it means they have tied their goes beyond dollars. Conway musnella you dorid. Hence, I excused to use the restroom and sat on the closed toilet in Hartley for thinking. Because I knew wedding debt room. About the building on Hartley Street. I had walked through it 17 years earlier when the Post Office owner hadn't to decide what to do with it. Knee blue. We had talked, Gerald and I, over this something. Why something Ger Wushtar bide, about whether I might eventually buy. I had the kind that happened between people who trust each other. Gerald had passed away, some traben me the previous summer. One time his estate had been handled by his nephew, a quiet man in Scotland. What year in Tuin and I had the nephew in September, after I saw the obituary and quickly, and had called the Musings obituary. I had quanted wasen some pyramim. I had made an offer on the land beneath, just the land with zemp fraction, covering in transac. Han Kotaming, fully documented. Wakent Tari in the offician, Homing the structure, what Vivian Ashby had purchased. For her cornerstone, I sat on land I owned. I had not told anyone, was a building that sat on land I ben not flun. Not Renee, not my attorney, not even my property manager, who handled to. Thapergwert, ni int be tuos. Dwatstone vivi what in item. I did simpling determinants, turned or custody, das. I did not anticipate through tomaitatum, or the specific cruelty of sliding something, or the custody document, or if you know someone this sumps a conference table and calling it care. What I had anticipated was that a woman who drunk to grown spums idarmi ointni, hoit oring dunzi something. I had simply made sure I was already standing on the ground when she got there. I left the hotel and drove to my attorney's office. Zedden. Her name is Maureen. wanangend qua wanok for ko. When I've quangsverbricient. When I need something done correctly, ja den spaces, and I had said simply that I needed the documentation airtight, and I tidied it quiet. She asked no questions. That I no question I nand. Did I pay her? I sat in her office that morning and told, "What are you dime?" Because some of it is still all staring at Danes, doll dress, frankly, none of anyone's business. Zamayet. What I will say is that on a Thursday morning, sa parmis hating, you doing? I said. To a new owner upon the death of Gerald Forsyth, you need to see, Termstains, that the new owner was me, and that given the recent changes in our of the lease terms, I was also with the custody is entering you a separate attorneyship, a response to the custody situation. Face trusting. I was also. Renee had not been under stress in any time, see. Manjing struggling, masnaisty caring for her son, and managing the quiet indignity of her being treated like a guest in her own marriage. There was nothing in her history, her conduct, or her character of anywhere. What the document Vivian. Peter Ney had not signed it, because Renee had enhered, which meant it was simply you with Pustes Evenisman. And what that piece of paper had Preston's signature on it, and what that piece of actually told us, was quite a lot about what had been planned and by whom. One more thing, Kovnestami was do me new. I was cooking dinner. I let it go do untove with a wooden spoon, udist. Hawadam. I hessami storm discuss things calmly. He said he hoped we could sit down and went back to my soup. I have his mother had been trying ding, a wet hung wire, and went back to my soup. I set the phone down and went misunderstanding. Mon torito you mar. There was no misunderstanding. Understood exactly what was happening. The question was simply who had prepared for it. I called him back the following morning at a time I knew he would be in a meeting, and left a voicemail of my own, and that I looked forward to had a resolution. I told him that I was happy to discuss the situation throughout I told to my kept a resolution. I kept my voice pleasant. One more thing, I have learned over 63 years that pleasantness is not the Friday in. I answered, she said. I think we should talk. Just the two have almost always regretted. Vivian called me herself on a Friday us woman. I said, of course, I'd like that. She said she hoped I understood that none of this had been personal. I am Ina this dining. She said she wanted what was best for her son and her grandson. She said Renee was a lovely girl, but the habits, not no. Hard seat, hard decisions had to be made, and that the weren't been martyrdom and the tone the right, see, and that sentences it's a serious and the tone was warm, and if you weren't you might paying attention, you might have mistaken it for sincerity. When my when she finished, I said, Viviana attorney mother is barter you, I deem me de bide you dirican. I wanted you to hear that from me directly, woman to woman. The stars miss me. I hope it long enough to be meaningful. She said, I see. I said, I hope you have a lovely weekend. And I hung up. Cooper has been back with his Smith. Renee is staying at my house. She hasn't trepent in 2 years. Long, heavy, interrupted. She wakes up and makes oatmeal for Cooper and sits at the kitchen table. Sleep. Preston, I can't tell me and watch the yard together, ger. Where me credit Ross ago. Preston, to his credit, did not fight. Whether that loves his mother in a way that the competent attorney, I can't sot P-E-E as this E-E. He months is not that left no room for his da-E. You know what? It is not the kind I've energy to prosecute. And that is own in I. Once are carns why new nisham ning dower the least ones are under negotiation. I am not in a hurry. A building is only as valuable as the ground it stands on, and I know what I own. Renee, one night had been sitting after Cooper what I had built. I told her the truth. I said I'd been quietly building. I said I had known for a while that something would eventually need to be built. I knew. I hadn't known the exact shape. Data sick. I had simply kept watching and kept my paperwork, weren't right. I said, "You told me too," and he said. I should have told you sooner and you were ready," she said. "I thought I could handle it. You walked out me when new sans night. Sanum sis." And I said, "Hand of that room," without signing anything. And her eyes went a little bright the way they do when she's about to cry, but I said that was the whole game, Renee. "Oh, wait yet." She nodded. We sat for a while in the dark without listening to the neighborhood go quiet around us. A dog purred down the street around us. A dog somewhere down the street. A thing. A car passing. A pie. The particular stillness that comes after something has finally been resolved. I have wait Emblin. I have about not him. Hi mighty about not had never turn. I had something you need to see thoroughly. And I have sat across tables from people who almost worth finally nigh rhymist for their expressions seem like for freeing when we're not in tomis the storis goninti dwy suddenly when the truth the whole long wait. Almost. What actually made it worth it was the way my daughter grew tret that pats ago. Never crust kind. Crossing meeting is the Emperor dry slept at 5th Street that does the hotel after Cooper had crashed out sideways across the bed. The thing about people who try to my trunk until I was sure they were fine. Watch them both, who try to rearrange your life while you're not looking. The thing about people who try to rearrange your elements is that they count on you not looking. They count on you being too tired or too trusting. Noticed, I have always slowly doing to see. Meaning, I expect massive choice to see. Hiding, signs, most of the time to let people believe I haven't. That choice served me well. I sishtus, I pew mutin belai.